Look, we mentioned Celtic there. I need to go through some of these comments because, as you can imagine, Celtic fans aren't particularly happy. William says, get the Sharks out at Parkhead. Thomas says, Fofana, I'm sure Preston and Charlton are in for him, dear God. This one, heads need to roll at Celtic, absolute shambolic. Mark says, Celtic fans should boycott the Europa League. Andy says, how is it that Celtic are this badly organised? They make the SPL look like a Mickey Mouse league, like the English all call it. And Dennis says, Brendan will walk tomorrow and Scott Brown will be the cheap option to take over. I mean, just on that one from Andy, Mick, how and why are Celtic in this position?
Listen, we're now probably hours away from we'll have an internal review and we'll look at the lessons that have to be learned and make sure this doesn't happen again. Having heard the exact same thing 12 months ago and 8 months ago, listen, this has been a pretty, even for Celtic's kind of late night shoppers routine, this has been a shambolic transfer window. To be sitting in the last day, I mean, listen, I said on our Facebook Live earlier, the transfer deadline day is to add a little bit of these sprinklings of magic in the last bit of the shopping, or to kind of cover yourself if someone tries to buy one of your players. It shouldn't be to build a team. Celtic are needing 3 and 4 players on deadline day to get, not to progress, not to develop, not to kind of take the club to the next level, what they keep saying, right? To maintain the side they had 12 months ago, they need 3 or 4 players today. So it has been a shambles. And listen, there were reasons why it's been a shambles, but either way, it's been a shambles. And they're now, and it looks like Tanecki's a done deal. As I said earlier on as well, the Hammerby saying an hour ago, not for sale, as long as you get another couple $100,000, then he is for sale again. I thought there was some shenanigans going on there. That looks like it's now been agreed. So I think he's heading to London for his medical. Yeah, I mean, Fofana's now mentioned, but this is the market now Celtic are going to be dipping in. It's the, as we said earlier on, it's the whoopsie shelf at Asda. It's the who's left over.
It's the old yellow stickers.
The yellow sticker brigade now. So it's the guys who are surplus to requirement at their clubs, who you can pick up. And by the way, there is some players you can pick up in that market. Celtic have done very well in that market. It's how they got Cameron Carter-Vickers. It's how they got Jota, Bernardo. They have managed to get guys in that market and who've done very well. Carter-Vickers is a great one. Checked in at 5 to midnight. They weren't even looking at him. The offer landed in their lap, and they said they'll take him for a loan deal. Eventually, signed a permanent deal, and he's been a massive success. So it can be a good market, but usually for your wee extras, not for you building your team. It's not a sign of future planning. Guy Fofana, I mean, he's been at Chelsea. He's one of these guys that the Chelseas and your Arsenals and Liverpools and Man City, they buy 1 million players from all over the world. They loan them out on loan fees. They sell them for 9, 10, 15, 20 million quid. You look at guys that have had 9 appearances in the Carabao Cup and they sell them for 15 million quid. He's one of these guys who was on loan at Union Berlin. I think he was at Burnley for 6 months, wasn't he, as well? He went to Turkey. I think he got injured last season. So he's clearly one of the whoopsie counter guys that's going to be getting out somewhere. And listen, Celtic will be relying on that being a big market, because there will be after 7 o'clock down south, there'll be a raft of guys who are available to go on loan elsewhere, and Celtic could quite conceivably pick up 2 or 3 of these guys, but it might get them through to January, but it's not a cohesive transfer strategy. And at some point, there's going to be somebody sitting with a suit saying, "Well, I apologise, it's not been good enough. We'll learn the lessons. It won't happen again. We promise."
Mick, surely the bigger picture here is, though, I mean, there can't be any doubt now, surely, about Brendan Rodgers leaving at the end of the season, can there? I mean, in the summer, we were all talking about, could it be his last year? Will he sign another deal? I mean, surely this transfer window's just killed any doubt about that. I mean, he can't stay beyond this season after what's happened, surely. No,
listen, why would he? It doesn't need to hassle this. I mean, having to scratch around, putting teams together in late windows. And see, there's not been any progression really over the 3 years. It's amazing when he first came back. Remember, some of the kind of flighty rhetoric was that he's back and they mean business. They're going to crank it up. They're going to heavily invest. It's all about the Champions League. It's going to be £10 million players. None of this bargain buying nonsense. It's going to be something different. They're going to break records and all the rest of it. And you're like, well, has it happened? When that first summer they signed 10 players, average price of about 1.9 million quid. How many of them are left? I mean, Yang's currently sitting at the Greggs and Southweights alongside Adam Eder. It's one of the last ones. Bernardo, don't know what's happened to him. there's very few of those guys left. Then obviously last season was slightly different. About like this window, waiting too late, overpaying for guys who didn't really cut it. So it's had nothing but kind of the same old problems they had. And by the way, it gets back to his first spell in charge. Nothing's really changed. You remember the John McGinn saga, the Terminado chat, and all this kind of stuff. So if you're Brendan Rodgers, you're thinking, why bother like this every year? By the way, on the flip side, if Brendan Rodgers his contract's also running out, but would you offer him a new contract at this point in time? The team has just been popped out of Europe. They've lost the Scottish Cup final. They've lost 8 games in 2025. They've not won to beat Rangers for a year in the league. Haven't won in 4 games against Rangers, 5 to take it to extra time in the cup final. So is that a guy you offer a new contract to just now? Probably not. The reasons why that's happened is because of what's happened behind the scenes, obviously. But the whole situation just now is just a wee bit untidy. A manager who looks so
untidy.
Yeah, exactly. That's been kind. But it looks like a manager who's kind of resigned to kind of where this is going. Weird thing is, I don't know. Somebody's got the vibes from Brendan Rodgers that he might hang about if he thought it was worth hanging about for. But this whole window, I mean, he can say himself, he's tired of answering the same old questions about transfer. Yeah. It's not.
I think this window's the final nail in the coffin, Mike. I really do. Unless something incredible and really ambitious happens before 11 p.m. tonight, I think that'll be that. Brendan Rodgers will keep his promise to the Celtic supporters. He will not leave unless he's asked to before the end of his third year. But I think that he will find this intolerable. I also have to say, Mike, I've said time and time again, even though things were really slow, even when it was getting up to the window for the Champions League qualifiers, I was sure that Celtic would spend money and spend significant sums before the end of the window, because they always do. But this summer is absolutely not the case. Well, and that I find I genuinely find staggering. Now, I'm sure there might be reasons in terms of they tried to get deals. They were close to doing a deal here, or they were close to doing a deal there. But this is a club with money piled up in the bank vault. Selling Adam Ida for $7 million. Yang, we'll see if that one goes through or not, but it's the $3 million. So they're actually bringing in more than they're spending.
Yeah.
This summer. And I find that astonishing and so hard to fathom. And it does suggest to me, if you're Brendan Rodgers, what's the point? What's the point? I'll see out this season, and then we'll shake each other by the hand and wish each other all the best. That's what it feels like, unless there's something coming, something that we don't know about, something that's going to just, slacken everybody's jaw between now and 11 o'clock tonight.
He said something last week. He said something. He was defending the kind of board a wee bit, but also kind of slating them at the same time in the kind of politician style, which he's very good at. But he said something. Everyone's all connected at the club, right? And clearly they're not connected. There's something between the manager and the recruitment and the board are not connected, because the targets they're going for, they've been unable to get. And the reason why that is, they'll need to explain why that is. I suspect it's over wages. Celtic are rigid with their wages and they won't budge. And the wages they offer at that stage in the window aren't going to get deals done. And that's, whether they like it or lump it, that's the market. We're now living in a world where you're selling guys like who played at Celtic pretty mediocrely for 24 million quid, and he's probably going to be getting 56 grand a week. This is the world they live in. I mentioned earlier, Celtic's biggest signing this summer with Balak Wisher cost less than Alan Stubbs cost in 1996. I mean, 30 years ago. So that things have changed. So that the players that they've identified they can't get over the line early because the wages aren't big enough. And that, listen, you can argue whether they should get paid. Unfortunately, that's the market. And it means these guys are going to wait and hedge their bets for better offers, and better offers have come in, and they've been left high and dry. And they're now left late in the window, out of the Champions League, and they're now at the whoopsie counter looking to see what they can pick up in the last bit of the window.
And in the comments, Mark says Celtic haven't won a meaningful game in 2025. This one as well, Keith. David Gillespie wants answers, because Keith kept telling us all summer Celtic were going to spend big.
Yeah. And I'm utterly at a loss to explain, because they always do. Now, whether or not it satisfies the fans, whether or not they think they've spent it on the right players, whether or not they think they've overspent on some players, or they've adhered too strictly to the model, which is spreading their chips and buying, as Mick said, 5 guys for £3 million rather than 1 guy for 15 million. Whatever it is, this would be, if nothing significant happens between now and tonight, this would be the first summer window where Celtic board have just abdicated the responsibilities in terms of helping a manager to reinforce his squad for what's a massive campaign ahead. And let's not forget, Daniel, there is still the Europa League, and I know people are turning their nose up at the thought of playing in the Europa League. We had Celtic, the Champions League team, and all this stuff. Europa League is a great competition, and if Celtic can get tooled up properly to compete in it, Brendan Rodgers isn't going to be turning his nose up at the thought of leading Celtic into the last 8, the last 4, maybe aiming for a final. Brendan, that would satisfy Brendan Rodgers, and I'm sure it would satisfy the fans, even those that would far prefer to be playing in the Champions League. They would get right behind it and they'd get engaged in the Europa League. And yet Celtic have this opportunity to do something at that level, which is significant. Don't tell me, as I said the other night, how many Celtic fans did the calculator say were in Seville? So the Celtic fans liked it fine then. And yet, here we are. It's 24 minutes past 6. And nothing continues to happen. And, the idea of bringing in, whether it's Fofana on a loan deal, that's not going to appease anybody. It's certainly not going to inspire Brendan Rodgers or make him feel wanted or, fire him up for the prospect of what's to come this season. I'm actually at a loss. And that's why in situations like this, I always think you better just wait and see, hold your fire and just wait and see what happens. Because I'll be astonished if Celtic's board allow themselves to be in the position of being seen not to spend money this summer when the fans know that the money's there. That one, to me, these are clever guys. That would be an extraordinary stupid move in terms of their relationship with support, which is already at the brink and has been unhappy all summer.